Welcome to the Human Error News Network, your source for stories that dig deep into modern warfare and technology. We've got a developing story today, and it's all about how we can actually stop catastrophic failures before they even have a chance to happen.
Okay, we're getting reports just now of a major breakdown in a super high-stakes battle management simulation. The word is there was a friendly fire incident, and it resulted in the simulated loss of some absolutely critical assets. The details are still messy, but the initial reports, they're all pointing to one thing: human error. Seems a single operator got totally overwhelmed with data and, well, made the wrong call at the absolute worst time. But hang on, is that really the whole story? I mean, when a complex system fails, our first instinct is almost always to find the person responsible, right? We call it the blame game. It's a simple story, it's easy to understand, but it might be keeping us from asking a much more important question. Just think about it for a second. When something goes wrong, doesn't matter if it's a software glitch or a huge accident, what's our focus? Is it on finding someone to blame, or is it on finding a better way to do things so it never happens again? The answer to that question, well, it changes everything.
And this, right here, is the big idea we're digging into today. This quote is so powerful because it just flips the whole problem on its head. It tells us that blaming a person is often the easy way out. The harder path, but the one that's way more valuable, is to see that failure as a gift. A chance to learn, a chance to fix the system that set that human up to fail to begin with.
So how do you actually build a system that learns from its mistakes before a real disaster? Well, for that, we're going to take you inside the Shadow Lab. This is where the U.S. Air Force is running some really groundbreaking experiments to design the future of making decisions. This place is called the ShOC-N, the Shadow Operations Center at Nellis Air Force Base. And you gotta understand, this is not your typical military facility. Think of it more like an innovation hub, a laboratory where warfighters, coders, and tech companies all get together to really push the command and control systems of tomorrow to their breaking point. So what's their mission? Simple: hunt down the points of failure before they can cause a problem. Instead of just waiting for an accident to happen, they're running these things called the DASH experiments, which stands for Decision Advantage Sprint for human-machine teaming. The whole goal is to figure out the best way for humans and AI to work together, as a real collaborative team. And these experiments weren't just random. They were super logical, designed to build on each other. First, in April, they tackled a fundamental task: just finding targets. Then, in September, they took the next step: pairing the right weapon, or effector, to each of those targets. And finally, they scaled it all the way up to the most complex job of all: getting AI to help generate entire battle plans. Now, all of this intense experimentation is leading to this huge shift in thinking. It's a move away from the traditional model to something way more powerful: the idea of putting the human on the loop instead of just in it. Okay, so what's the big difference here? Human in the loop is what we're used to. Think of a pilot actually flying a plane. They are a direct part of the process. But human on the loop, that's different. That's more like a strategic commander. The machine, the AI, does all the heavy lifting, sifting through thousands of possibilities, flagging the really important stuff, and then it presents the best choices to the human. The human then uses their judgment, their experience, to make that final critical call. And this quote from Lieutenant Colonel Sean Finney at the ShOC-N just nails why this shift is so crucial. This isn't about replacing people, it's about making them better. The speed of modern conflict is just insane. The number of decisions you have to make is exploding. So human on the loop is a way to handle all that complexity without a person just getting completely overwhelmed. So, did it actually work? Well, the results from that second DASH experiment were, honestly, they were stunning. The teams that were using AI tools, they were able to generate 30 times more options than the teams of just humans working by themselves. Let that sink in. That's not 30% better. That's a 30-fold leap. Let's just break that down, because it's wild. The AI tools were spitting out recommendations in under 10 seconds. In just 60 minutes, they churned out over 6,000 possible solutions for 20 different problems. And here's the kicker: the software's error rate was about the same as a human's. And this was for tools they had literally built in just 2 weeks. It just shows you the incredible speed and scale that's possible. But these DASH experiments, as cool as they are, aren't just one-off tests. No, they fit into a much bigger, much more strategic plan to create a real blueprint for how the Air Force is going to make decisions, period.
and it's called the Transformational Model for Decision Advantage. The best way to think about it is like a master map. It lays out every single decision that has to be made in the command and control process. We're talking over 50 of them. And then it analyzes each one to figure out, okay, where does a human do best? Where does a machine do best? And where are they strongest when they work together?
This model gives them a clear, repeatable process. Step 1, map all the decisions. Step 2, figure out which tasks are for humans and which are for machines. That lets them define where teaming is going to be most effective. Then, that model becomes a roadmap for tech companies to build the right tools. And, maybe most importantly, it forces everyone to think about the moral and ethical lines for automation before the tech is even in the field. So at the end of the day, the ultimate goal is crystal clear. It's about designing a real partnership. By building a system that plays to the strengths of both people and AI, you lift the person from being just another cog in the machine to being the strategic brain on top of the machine, making those final critical judgments. Which brings us right back to where we started, to that breaking news story. With everything we know now, we have to ask that question again. Was it really human error, or was it a system error? Was it a failure of design that put a person in an impossible spot, drowning in data, without the AI partner they needed to succeed? The work being done at the ShOC-N is paving the way for a future where that kind of systemic failure gets engineered right out of the system. But it does leave us with one last really big question. As these human AI teams get more and more powerful, who's ultimately accountable? When a machine recommends a course of action and a human approves it, where does the responsibility truly lie? Now that is a developing story we're all going to have to watch. For the Human Error News Network, thanks for tuning in.